End of the show yesterday, the news comes down that Trump had fired FBI Director James Comey after previously extolling the guy's virtues and what a fantastic job the guy was doing. And then, of course, today, all of the fallout from that. There are essentially two schools of thought on this. There is the one that, well, the guy was starting to bungle some things. And then the other school of thought is this is nothing more than a cover-up because he was investigating any collusion between the Trump administration and his associates in Russia and all that stuff. There's actually a meeting today. People are saying he's joking, but there was a meeting with a Russian foreign minister, and the press asked a question. He's like, what? What? It was Rex Tillerson, the most toothless Secretary of State in a long time, in this.
He hosted on a very broad range of topics. Thank you.
Does the Comey firing cast a shadow of your talk, gentlemen?
Was he fired?
The U.S. Yes.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
Fired.
Are you kidding? What?
You're kidding.
They said he was joking, but I thought maybe he was serious.
You keyed.
I'm like, boy, if Russia thinks you got balls to fire a guy for trying to cover something up, whoo doggy. So that's all anybody's talking about if you're channel surfing on the cable news. That, well, sure, he fired him because he knew he was getting close to something. And Comey thought it was a joke. He was out in Los Angeles.
That's the sad part.
Well, yeah, he was out in L.A. giving a speech. They didn't give this guy the heads up. They released it in the media. I guess that was Trump's way of whipping his dong out. So Comey's in L.A. addressing some group, and he sees it on the television. And some of his aides have to come up and, I guess, whisper something in his ear. He was reading a class, My Pet Goat. And he thought it was a joke.
I thought he was being pranked by the guys, right?
Thought he was really getting pranked by the guys. Like, oh, man, that Fox News actually announcing that James Comey has been fired. It's crazy.
Could have been better. He should have had the F-er and the P guy show up at the end. But other than that, very funny, guys. Good job.
Yeah, that's right.
Weren't they also kind of confused, like, because he was on a trip for the FBI, if he could take the FBI plane back?
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
I heard there was like, they're like, do you have to get your own flight?
Like his key card doesn't work as soon as he gets back? Listen, listen, very clearly, the FBI is an independent agency, which is why these guys get tenure for a decade. He had 6 more years left on what would have been his time at the FBI. It's designed to cross presidential terms. So you have a lot of people throwing Nixon around because he fired, he didn't fire the head of the FBI, but he
fired the guy that was investigating
fired
him.
the independent prosecutor that was investigating Watergate, the whole big thing. So people are starting to say, comparing him to Nixon. I mean, listen, a lot of people have been comparing Trump to Nixon for a long time now. That's not new. But whoever the president is, since the FBI is an independent organization, they're kind of supposed to respect that independence. So it's absurd to think that he fought, because what their explanation was, because he wrote a letter explaining why this was, and their explanation was that he had mishandled the Hillary Clinton email investigation. So you're a clod if you believe that that's the actual reason, that all of a sudden these guys are mad that James Comey didn't treat Hillary Clinton fairly, when at the time, when he released that info like 11 days before the election, these guys were tripping over themselves talking about what an awesome guy Jim Comey was.
They were, yeah, that was Trump's whole thing. He's like, I wouldn't have released this information, but I'm glad he did. He's a true patriot for doing it. He was thrilled about it, because that's basically what solidified a lot of people voting for Trump.
So he said that he let James Comey go because that the FBI was losing credibility and blah, blah. Very clearly. Now, again, James Comey was not in charge of the investigation into Donald Trump and what his cohorts might have had to do with Russia. He didn't run the investigation. And the assistant director doesn't run the investigation. They have agents and chiefs who run those investigations. There's case agents and there's, people who do those things. There's people who are assigned to these cases to see them all the way through. But whoever the new guy is, clearly it's going to be somebody who's loyal to Trump. They're throwing Rudy Giuliani's name around and Chris Christie, and you're like, oh, okay. But it will continue. This investigation is going to continue. They might be able to slow it down for a little while, but I think this was kind of a boneheaded move on their part.
There's only one man that can do this job and do it correctly.
Who?
Burt Macklin.
Yeah.
Macklin, you son of a bitch.
That's right. Somebody called Burt Macklin. Right. There's always a different way to get information that you need to get. All this did was take something that was kind of a bonfire and turned it into an inferno. Because now nobody's going to let... It's ridiculous to think that these guys were mad that James Comey mistreated Hillary Clinton. There are Australian bushmen who don't understand English who are laughing at that. So they're obviously using it for some kind of cover.
It's very, very strange, and it's very, very concerning. And even some Republicans are speaking out. John Kasich put out...
Boy, Kasich's been on the warpath lately.
Yep, McCain too.
Yeah, they want answers. They want to know what's going on.
But again, those are not people who are flipping on Trump. Those are people who have
been against him
right from the
But
jump.
at least
So
they're speaking out, because there's a lot of Republicans that are just keeping their mouth shut. They're not saying anything.
they also said that Comey had just asked the Department of Justice for more money and manpower for the investigation. And they were like, we got to get him out of there. Somebody's getting too close to something. That's the exciting part. You can get rid of Jim Comey, but the noose is starting to tighten on something.
Yeah.
On something. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Plenty more where that came from. Click here to subscribe. Click here to watch another video. We'll see you next time.